Join me in painting this easy and cozy fall landscape with watercolors. I begin by using a white wax crayon to draw the birch tree trunks. I tilt the board and make quick strokes to suggest their shape. You may not see these marks right away, but they will start to appear as we add pigments layer by layer. Next, I use ultramarine to paint the sky from top to bottom, and you can notice how I leave the brush marks along the sides instead of painting all the way to the masking tape. This unfinished edge is an artistic choice, but you can do it any way you like. Now you can see the trunks starting to appear. Now I mix Naples yellow with a touch of vermilion hue and paint near the base of the tree trunks while the background is still wet. Next I add burnt sienna for deeper values, followed by touches of ultramarine blue. All these layers work together to create the ground for the tree trunks. After painting the base layer, I tilt the board to check for any excess pigment, but there isn't any. If you do notice extra pigment on your paper, you can gently lift it with a damp brush to prevent the cauliflower effect. Once the paper is fully dry, next we use sponge technique to build the trees layer by layer to form the fall foliage. I start with a mix of Naples yellow and a bit of vermilion hue, and I use a small sponge so I have better control over where the pigment goes. You can see the pigment consistency on my palette. It is not too watery because if it is too watery, you will end up with big patches. I want the sponge marks to look like tiny speckles, which gives a natural texture to the fall foliage. You might notice a small gap between the cluster of trees. That is the space where we will later add a couple walking through the birch forest. I noticed there are mostly warm colors, so I decided to add a little bit of green. For that, I mix Naples yellow with Vertian green and apply it using the sponge technique. You can see that one of the tree is still green and stands out. Then I use burnt sienna to add more depth to the trees. Now I'm using vermilion hue to add more fall colors to the foliage. Finally, I add a touch of ultramarine with a sponge to enhance the depth of the painting, mostly at the bottom of the trees. So far, we have used 4 layers to build this fall landscape. First, a mix of Naples yellow with vermilion hue, then a mix of Naples yellow with Verdian green, after that, burnt sienna, and finally, ultramarine. Next, it's time to add the couple. For that, I mix Naples yellow with a bit of vermilion hue for one of the shirts and use ultramarine for other shirt. For the heads and pants, I'm using Payne's Gray. I also add shadows with a lighter value of Payne's Gray so the couple feels grounded and looks like they are part of the scene. The final step is to paint some birds flying in the sky. For that, I'm using Payne's Gray. And that's it, we have completed a beautiful fall landscape using watercolors. See you in another video. Until then, take care and bye bye from Prema.